you on the spot. My name is Rizky Alia, and today I shall serve as your Master of Ceremony for today's public lecture. I would like to welcome Mr. Dillemas as former Minister of International Affairs of Slovakia, and who also shall deliver the public lecture today. Ambassador of Slovakia in Jakarta, His Excellency Mr. Mikhail Slivovic, and Deputy Chief of Mission Embassy of Slovakia in Jakarta, Madam Veronica Kristasov, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia in Bratislava, Her Excellency Ibu Aditya Widi Adiwoso Asnani, and also Mr. Lutfi as the Director of Sekolah Kajian Strategik dan Global University of Indonesia. Also, all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, who has attended this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union is an international institution that has been a success in integrating European countries after the World War II. However, despite its success in integrating the countries, it is also facing a crisis which leads to dilemma. Today, we shall listen to a public lecture by Mr. Damos on the dilemmas of the European Union from the Slovakian perspective. Before we jump into the lecture, I would like to invite Universitas Indonesia Director of the School of Strategic Studies, Mr. Lutfi, to come forth to the podium and deliver an opening speech. To Mr. Lutfi, the podium, please.
Chief of Mission Embassy Republik Jakarta, Veronica Kristasov, para pimpinan, para dosen, puji syukur kita hadirkan kehadiran Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala yang telah menyelenggarakan acara siang hari ini. Perlu kita sampaikan bahwa Sekolah Kajian Strategik dan Global adalah merupakan bentuk baru, wajah baru dari pasar sarjana pada waktu itu. Sekarang ini ada dua sekolah, yaitu Sekolah Kajian Strategik dan Global dan satu lagi adalah Sekolah Ilmu Lingkungan. Sekolah Kajian Strategik Global itu ada beberapa program kajian wilayah Eropa antara lain dan program kajian yang lain, di mana merupakan dikaji melalui berbagai disiplin, sehingga kajian yang ada di sekolah ini merupakan kajian yang begitu dinamik dan sangat dibutuhkan oleh kondisi sosial, politik, ekonomi masyarakat yang berkembang sekarang ini. Kita harapkan public lecture Dilemma of European Union, the Slovak perspective, yang akan disampaikan oleh Mr. Dillemas memberikan gambaran kepada kita tentang situasi terakhir kondisi Eropa, di samping unity yang ada di sana, tentu ada varian-varian yang muncul juga, dan ini sangat penting bagi kita karena hubungan kita dengan Eropa adalah hubungan yang begitu kuat, sehingga apapun polisi yang diambil oleh Eropa itu juga mempunyai dampak besar kepada Indonesia. Untuk yang baru saja yang kita hadapi hubungan Indonesia dan Eropa adalah tentang oil palm atau minyak sawit. Nah, ini agak sedikit memanas. Nah, ini tentu hal-hal yang demikian jangan sampai kemudian menjadi sesuatu yang berhalang, di mana hubungan antara Indonesia ini tentu memerlukan penguatan hubungan yang lebih dari sekedar hubungan ekonomi saja, karena permasalahannya yang dihadapi dunia ini banyak hal-hal yang bisa saling mendukung, tentang globalisasi, tentang menguatnya negara-negara atau munculnya negara-negara besar baru, kekuatan-kekuatan baru. Nah, itu di sini Indonesia yang satu di antara 20 negara di dalam G20 itu sangat penting bersama dengan negara Eropa. Saya kira itu yang saya sampaikan selamat untuk para hadirin dan khususnya pembicara yaitu Pak Dillemas. Semoga acara ini bisa memberikan wawasan bagi kita semua. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I shall reread what Mr. Lutfi has said in his speech. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pavel Dillemas and Mr. Mikhail Mr. Mikhail Slivovich. I welcome you today at Universitas of Indonesia, the School of Strategic Studies. The School of Strategic Studies is another phase of Universitas Indonesia's graduate program, which is also in line with the School of Environmental Studies, and thus the European Union has become one of our programs and our research topics. Now, the European Union and Indonesia has a strong relations throughout history, and thus it is very important for us to know what are the problems which have been faced by this union and its implications towards our country. One of the problems that EU and Indonesia share is the palm oil plantation problems. However, economic problems are not the only problem which our relationship is now facing, but it is also facing a threat from several new rising powers, and it can also we can perceive this as a threat, or we can also perceive this as a new opportunity for new cooperations among these nations. Indonesia is considered as one of those rising powers, and in the G20, and considering our partnership or our involvement in the G20 countries, Indonesia can also be considered as a prospective partner for the European Union. And last but not least, I would like to deliver my deepest gratitude to all the participants who are willing to attend this public lecture, and I also wish us good luck and may this public lecture broaden our horizons. Thank you very much. Now, before we jump into the speech, I would like to welcome Ibu Heni. Oh, yes, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest, Mr. Dillemas, to come up on the stage. And also Ibu Heni, as today's moderator, to also come forth to the stage. To the public lecture by Mr. Dillemas, which will be moderated by Ibu Heni. Ibu Heni, the forum is yours.
Good evening, or good evening, good afternoon maybe, ladies and gentlemen. Usually we have a public lecture in the evening, so I said good evening. Pak Direktur yang terhormat, Lutfi, and also Madam Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia in Bratislava. Her Excellency Ibu Adi Yatwidi Adimoso Asmadi, and Ambassador of Slovak, my best friend, His Excellency Mr. Michal Slivovic, and His Deputy Ibu Veronica, and dear ladies and gentlemen, my students and also my colleague and all the participants of this lecture. This is we have very short preparation for this, because we got notification, actually we got connection with Embassy of Indonesia in Slovakia already from last semester. But we were waiting. Will there be someone coming to Indonesia and will say something about Slovakia, because we are actually thirsty of knowledge of Central Europe. And then suddenly good news coming from Pak Dani, and Pak Dani sent a letter from Ibu Dubes to us, and then I passed to Pak Direktur. And the person who are facilitated to come to our school is very unordinary. So, Mr. Pavel Dillemas, I will read his CV so that we can share who is he. Pavel Dillemas, Dr. Pavel Dillemas, is a well-known Slovak expert on international relations and civil society, author and photographer. Prior to the Velvet Revolution, what is that Velvet Revolution? Velvet Revolution is the peace revolution between the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic when they decided to separate each other but peacefully. Professor Dillemas or Dr. Pavel Dillemas was a biomedical researcher at Comenius University in Bratislava. So, but a biomedical researcher with exploitation of international relations and civil society, very unordinary. He is a graduate of the Charles University in Prague. After democratic change in 1989, he served in Slovak government, firstly as Minister of Education. Later, he became Minister of International Relations and Foreign Policy Advisor to the first President of Slovak Republic, Michal Koval. Since 2000 until 2010, he was the Director of Central and Eastern Europe of the German Marshall Fund of the United States based in Bratislava. Now he is a non-resident senior fellow with GMF US, external advisor to the Slovak Minister of Foreign and European Affairs, and board member of the European Endowment for Democracy. He has his own program on international relations and diplomacy on an internet TV. Remember, his first career was a biomedical researcher. My goodness. Of the Slovak Press Agency. He published numerous articles and several books. Today I got one, very beautiful one, with his photograph. Dillemas has served on boards of numerous domestic and international non-profit organizations, among others, the European Foundation Center, European Cultural Foundation, European Council on Foreign Relations, National Czech and Slovak Library and Museum of USA. So he got selected award, he mentioned the selected award here, the EU-US Democracy and Civil Society Award in 1998, the USA Democracy and Governance Award in 1999, 6-month Public Policy Research Fellowship at the Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington, D.C., Royal Dutch Decoration Knight of the Order Orange Nassau in 2005, Yugoslav Star of the First Class, 2005, Southeast Europe Media Organization Human Rights Award in 2009, and Medal of Honor from the Friends of Slovakia in 2011. So today we have with us a very person that we really have to learn from of experience and also the perspective of his international point of view. So I will shortly give time to you, Dr. Dillemas, please.
Okay, it works. Okay. So thank you very much indeed. This introduction was longer than my lecture will be. I will try to stimulate discussion as fast as I can. So first of all, it's really a great honor at the end of my stay in Indonesia to be with all of you. This is my third university while I'm in your country. I arrived last Thursday, and tomorrow evening I'm flying back home to Bratislava. And I'm very grateful that both ambassadors, Michal and Mike, are here with me. So I have to watch what I'm going to talk about, even if I'm a freelance person, but they can report to their respective ministries if I will say something heretic. Also, I'm happy that we have Slovak student here besides Deputy Ambassador, because between Indonesia and Slovakia there is great opportunity that young people from our country can benefit from stipend when they come here and learn about your country. And in Georgia I met 2 days ago, I had dinner with 2 ladies, Michaela and Maria, who are studying there. One is studying dance, another is studying Indonesian language. So we will be better off if Michaela will come and show us Javanese dances, which she's learning hard. What I would like to do today, since this is university which is larger than my capital city, Bratislava has about 500,000 inhabitants, and I was just told by Madam Director that University of Indonesia has 800,000, so I think that for me it's a privilege to be a university which is almost city, not even village by size. And when I mentioned that I spoke at Parahyangan Catholic University, so pronunciation is equally difficult as as our names. And also I was at University of Gajah Mada at Jogja, so this is my third. And at every place I try to say something different, because when I thought that I'm coming to Catholic University, I'm Catholic, I thought that I show my Catholic background a little bit, but majority of students were Muslims. So I had to adjust very quickly what I say. So, but before I go into my topic, where I will briefly tell you sum up of my stay and observations of Indonesia, then I will jump into the topic which was announced, Dillemas of the European Union. And of course, since I'm Slovak, I will give Slovak perspective, which is always easy because I can say many things which if I would be German or French, I couldn't say. But before I go to that, how many of you been to Europe? If you would be so kind, raise your hands. I need to, those of you who are Slovaks, you don't need to raise your hands. So, okay, you were in Europe, you too, okay. Where did you go? To Poland? Okay. And you went as tourist or you for conference? Excellent. And you, where did you go? Okay, so I think that no more. I think that this is one of the strange things for me. I'm discovering that we know each other so little that very few students, even though who are studying international relations or topics, but why they don't? Okay, I will not ask you where did you go. How many of you went to Europe? Okay, one more. Okay. More. Okay. No, but don't worry, I am for the first time in Indonesia, and size of Indonesia is half of European Union. So I am ashamed that I am discovering it in my age 62, this enormous country which is playing such an important role, not only in Southeastern Asia but globally. So I think that we need to discover each other more. And one of the reasons why I came to Indonesia is that in the last about 10 years, as foreign policy person, I discovered that without knowing history, culture, and religion, you can very often misunderstand many things what are taking place in the world. And particularly in Yugoslavia, a country which was south of us, which split through very complicated process accompanied by civil wars there were 100,000 dead people, and very often religious or ethnicity and religion were misused in arguments. And also nowadays, because we war in Syria and all what ISIS or Daesh created in the Middle East, there is enormous increase of interest to understand also how Islam works and how Islam coexists with other religions, because very often in mindset of people in my country or other countries that Islam is either not understood or misunderstood, and very often public perception is connected with all these difficult situations or atrocities which are taking place. I visited Iraq a couple of years ago, and in Iraq, as you know, Christians were for almost 2,000 years, but a few years ago there were about 2 million of them. Now there's about 200,000, many of them disappeared. European Union also decided about 3 years ago that they created special post of envoy for religious freedom around the world, and position is held by Slovak former Deputy Foreign Minister Jan Figel, because also European Union realized that we need to increase our knowledge of religion and also how to bring understanding not only through classical political and diplomatic tools, but also how to engage religious leaders in resolving some of the big dilemmas which we are facing today. So within this framework, I'm very grateful that Embassy of Indonesia in Bratislava helped me to come, and I'm guest of two ministries of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Religious Affairs. And within 10 days, I was privileged enough to meet religious leaders of all 6 religions which you have. So I had separate discussions with them. So I met Christians, I met Muslims, I had a meeting with Buddhists, Hindu, and through their perspective I was trying to understand how come that in the largest Muslim populated country like Indonesia you can coexist this way, because very often if I visited countries in Middle East or North Africa, there are many things which are totally different from Turkey than in this country. So I was able to gain a lot of knowledge. Also I spoke to people from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from their Information Public Diplomacy section, but this morning I had excellent meeting with Madam Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Retno Marsudi. We discussed about role of Indonesia, not only our bilateral relations, which is 25 years old, but also how Indonesia can play as actor in the international arena in better understanding also these complicated matters which are related to religion and politics, and how to keep these two worlds somehow detached, not merging, because very often they are a source of problems and conflicts. So all in all, I will use just one anecdotal thing related to this. Madam Director, you mentioned that I'm a passionate photographer, so I'm taking a lot of pictures and will develop a photo essay after I go home, and I will develop tour this exhibition, which I would like to go through Slovakia, but also through several European Union countries to show what I discovered about Indonesia and its sort of inter-religious dialogue and all this concept of Pancasila, which I find rather fascinating and interesting, because these two anecdotal things are, I thought that when I saw as your national symbol that this is eagle, because very often in Europe there are several countries which have a national symbol eagle, but only here I really learned that this is Garuda, which is Hinduist symbol bringing Vishnu. So I'm studying now Garuda while I'm here and trying to learn, because you overlay this Hindu symbol with 5 logos of your Pancasila. So, and when I see and discuss it also with religious leaders, how they view this concept and how it is working today, how you are keeping all these principles, religious and non-religious, somehow together. I think that Indonesia from this point of view is a very interesting country. Also, as photography, you are running very often in new territories, countries into difficulty if you do not understand local circumstance. And when I went to Middle East or North Africa, very often if I'm taking pictures, I'm sensitive towards situation. And ladies or girls in hijab, it's always tricky to take pictures of them. Except of Indonesia, I found it, I never seen country where photography and selfie is so developed like in this country. It is just mind-boggling for me. So I started my series of photo journey to Indonesia already at airport in Istanbul when I was waiting, because I flew from Vienna, which is close airport to us, to Istanbul, and from Istanbul, Jakarta, and there were Indonesian passengers waiting for the plane, and there I took my opening picture. Lady, not your age, a little bit older, probably your mother's age, and she had 2 smartphones in 2 hands and was able to operate 2 of them. So I will be showing Indonesians don't use 1 but 2. So she was sort of working on this. But anyhow, here, if I ask permission whether I can take picture of unknown lady or girl on street, she not only says yes, but she wants to have then selfie with me. So then I'm shocked that I'm not causing some intercultural problem if boyfriend will see me that I'm having photographed, that I'm not risking some incident. So anyhow, I think that there are many things which you will see, which I will produce after this. And since we have social media and networks, and I'm on Facebook, you will be able to get, and I will send you my final product, or how I discovered your country. And last thing, I don't know whether I can say it, but I went to this mini Indonesia park close to Jakarta, and there I found one of the very bizarre situations. They were training little kids to dance. And this lady trainer of dancers, these were kids, 6, 7 years old, they were dancing on the podium, and she had hijab, trousers, and red t-shirt. And so I'm looking at her something, because she had some sign on the t-shirt, and I'm looking more closely whether I can read what it is. So I came closer, it's a little dark. And she had on her t-shirt, "I am sexy," which I found rather unusual thing otherwise, but anyhow I could take a picture of that thing. In conclusion, I must tell you that as far as Indonesia is concerned, I don't recall a country where I saw so many cordiality and openness and friendships, and I traveled quite a bit in the last 8 days, and so I think that I will strongly suggest that people should just know each other better. You should come to my part, our part of the world, and I think that it will be extremely helpful if more people will learn about Indonesia, which somebody described as the largest unknown country in the world. Now, as far as my part of the world and topic, I am Slovak from Bratislava, and Slovakia is we are even a younger country than Indonesia. We just celebrate this year 25th anniversary of our democratic independence, and we celebrate this year 100th anniversary of Czechoslovakia. And I'm mentioning this because it's very unusual that Czechs and Slovaks celebrate both anniversaries of creation and separation together. It just shows how the two countries are close, and that split of the country was not result of some ethnic hatred or ethnic tension. And Slovakia has about 5 million inhabitants, Bratislava capital about 500,000, Czech Republic 10 million, and Prague, capital of Czech Republic, 1 million. That is all about numbers and geography. Slovakia was less known, and what I found during my trip in Indonesia, very often if I say I'm from Slovakia, usually people, Czechoslovakia, and I said, well, so it's so far away, it didn't come yet that we split 25 years ago, because, but for 25 years we are two independent countries. Language is very similar, we understand each other. I studied in Prague, now capital of Czech Republic. My son studied in, so when you study, you can speak and write your thesis in each other's language. Languages are very similar. But in 2004, both countries joined European Union. So today we are two independent countries, but we are members of European Union, which has 28 states. The total population about 500 million, about 500,000. Who knows why flag of European Union has 12 stars? So from students, who knows why we have 12 stars on European Union flag? Because nowadays, in front of every government office, in front of your government office, you have white, red flag and your Garuda with Panchasila. In front of all government offices, we have Slovak flag, which has double cross on 3 hills, and next to it we have second flag, which is blue with 12 yellow stars. Yeah? So this is meant that every EU country must have not only national flag, but also flag of EU. 12 stars. Who would guess why why EU has 12 stars? And European Union was founded shortly after Second World War. So why do you think it has 12 stars? Okay, I think that it is not even close, if I would be diplomatic, because who else would guess? You can guess, okay? Okay, at the beginning when European Union was founded, it has nothing to do, 12 stars have nothing to do with numbers of countries, okay? 12 stars, because you think like United States flag, the stars, and every star represents one state of the United States. European Union has stars, but stars do not represent, numbers of stars have nothing to do. Number 12, it's magical number. You have 12 months, you have 12 hours on the clock, and you have 12 apostles, and you have 12. Represents many things. So Europeans took at the beginning flag, which wanted to represent union, which is built on something big. Yeah? Because at the beginning there were 6 countries which created first this union, but original name for European Union was Coal and Steel Union, because Europe and Europeans, we were engaged in creating 2 world wars. First World War and Second World War. And Europeans were so determined after Second World War ended in 1945. They said never more war. They decided to create first Coal and Steel Union, which sounds sort of not very philosophical, but controlling production of coal and steel was related to arms. If we know who is producing steel, meaning for tanks and weapons, we needed to control Germany, France, and other big powers not to start building because new military, because world was divided after Second World War into Eastern and Western part. East, which since was communist bloc, and the West was democratic West, and then so there were again attempts to have some confrontation. And also Europeans never wanted to have wars. So they decided to start developing this coalition of states. But first was Steel and Steel Union, then European Communities, and then European Union. I grew up I was born in 1956, and until 1989 we lived under communist regime, and we were separated from communication with the West. So we lived in bipolar divided world, and after 1989, when Berlin Wall fell, when Americans and Russians decided, okay, let's abolish this division of Europe, European Union started to open up towards former communist or socialist countries. Then we started this process, also Czechoslovakia. We immediately wanted to belong to European Union, so we started with accession steps towards European Union, because if you want to join European Union, you need to fulfill political, economic, and social criteria in order to develop compatible societies. But we never thought that we would split. But it went so quickly that Czechs and Slovaks suddenly started on the democratic model to think how to design governance. Slovaks wanted to have more to say. Czechs had idea federation should be more centralized. So rather than going back and forth, in 1993, Czechs and Slovaks decided through parliamentary vote to end 70 years of federation and created 2 new states. So one would say that our change was called Velvet Revolution or Peaceful Revolution, November 89. It started by people like you at International Students' Day, 17th of November 89, when they protested against communist regime, and within few weeks Communist Party collapsed, because all other countries in the region went through this process of getting rid of authoritarian regimes, because it was allowed due to global situation, particularly agreement between 2 superpowers, Soviet Union and the United States. Soviet Union dissolved, Yugoslavia dissolved, and Czechoslovakia dissolved. Everything what was federative after fall of Berlin Wall and opening space towards self-determination, creating the situation of country proliferation and creation of new countries on the map of Europe. So for Slovaks, this ambition to join the European Union, which was associated with economic well-being, freedoms of all kinds, and also prosperity, it was critically important navigation force towards our transition from centrally planned society to pluralistic. Then what we wanted to have also, while we were parallelly developing democratic pluralistic system, we wanted to integrate to EU. So we went on this, and in year 2004, there were a bunch of countries which joined the European Union. This was Big Bang year, that there were countries of 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Central European Visegrad countries, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, and Hungary, and Slovenia, Yugoslav states. All of us joined the European Union. Now on, we believed, since we are members of European Union, that things can be only good, because we joined the club of wealthiest union in the world, that things will be associated only with positive things. we have not anticipated that we will run into series of problematic moments and crises. First one, which was almost like wake-up call, was when Lehman Brothers problem started in the United States, this financial economic crisis which jumped over to Europe. Suddenly we were exposed to financial crisis. We never thought that the West can have financial crisis. We thought that other continents can have crises, but not us. It was so difficult for our country because suddenly the issue of solidarity with others was opened up, and Slovak government collapsed on the issue of bailout of Greece, which went almost, one of the member states went almost bankrupt. So in Slovakia was asked to subsidize or pay some share, and it was so difficult to understand, even for political elites and public, to explain that our Prime Minister then, Iveta Radičová, she connected vote of confidence with this bailout package, and our government collapsed on European issues. So it was very unusual situation. European Union, however, came out through this, from this crisis successfully. We overcame it. But then what happened about 3-4 years ago, we never thought that Middle East or revolution in Africa can create shockwaves, an earthquake, or tsunami for us. We thought that we are sort of separated from those hotspots. But particularly Syrian crisis, which erupted because of this radical Islamic State or Daesh, and with internal situation within Syria and this radical group. So combination of Syrian and Iraqi crisis produced enormous wave of immigrants which wanted to come to Europe to find a way where they would secure their families, but alongside many people who were just trying better life and living out of these war zones. And originally we thought that, okay, we need to welcome all of them because Europe, which is 500 million union, could absorb many of these families. But suddenly the numbers were growing and starting to create a lot of problems which were not only of economic nature, but people were worried that through this terrorism will come also to Europe. This uncontrolled migration could create these disturbances within the Union. Plus we had several terrorist attacks on the soil of European Union, and we were not. So whether in Paris or Madrid or London, suddenly people started to waking up that terrorism is not only located outside of EU, but we have it also within EU. And this migration or refugee crisis created several dilemmatic situations for European Union leaders, but also for national leaders, how to handle it. On one hand, you need to show humanitarian assistance, on another, you need to protect yourself. So it produced a lot of influences on domestic politics. So this fear factor vis-a-vis refugees and vis-a-vis Muslims, because usually this was associated in the minds of people with Muslim or Islam faith and terrorism, created situation where population started to be afraid of these waves coming and how to handle, and Islamophobia became one of the serious issues and is until today. I would say that almost in every country, people started to face this dilemma, how to handle these crises. So first, what we needed to create clear borders, because very often we're just, let's absorb them. And as you know, Germany, the largest and most powerful European country, was one of those where Angela Merkel, Chancellor, she was this open-arm policy person and the strongest European leader. Suddenly she needed to modify policy because Germany was unable to cope with this influx and it had profound impact on elections in Germany. Angela Merkel was re-elected, but not with such a margin as before, and had to go through very complicated coalition building process. In Austria, country which is also economically well off, we have now in government right-wing party which made it to parliament and to coalition government on their anti-immigrant and xenophobic type of rhetoric. Also elections in Hungary or Czech Republic, but also in our country, very often are influenced by topic which has nothing to do with social, economic, health or education issues, but this topic how to deal with migrants and how to deal with Muslims having profound impact. So for that reason, I think that I would say that one of the big dilemmas of the EU today is how to deal with rather lower of degree of cohesion and coherence in policy and divided opinion on refugees. I think is becoming one of the very divisive issues, and I would be happy to discuss it with you. Also, EU was not prepared to split. EU was ready to expand. Like European Union after '89 said, any European country which will fulfill criteria and want to join European Union, you are welcome. Nowadays, we don't see these, but we never had within European Union situation that country would like to leave. And what happened in Britain, one of the key countries of European Union, which was like engine of EU, Britain decided through vote 2 years ago to leave European Union. So we have this Brexit situation when EU is struggling how to make this divorce between Great Britain, one of the key pillars of the EU, and not to damage relationship. But it opened up possibility that European Union is not only predestined to bring more countries, but there may be countries which will decide on whatever basis, political or other, to leave. So I think that second dilemma is how to prevent fragmentation. Because the talk about what should be left on national level, what should be put on European level, is one of the big challenges for European Union leaders, but also for national leaders. And last but not least, political party system is challenged across whole European Union. Traditional political parties, which were divided, conservative, left, right, liberal, the middle, and they were constantly balancing political landscape. Nowadays, we see that there are many new actors who are making it to the top based on xenophobic, populistic rhetoric and are challenging traditional political parties. Many of them are having serious problems just to survive. So if any of you are studying party politics of European Union, we are having a situation which is in flux. There are many new startups in political party landscape which are emerging on all kinds of bizarre ideologies, but very often they are not tolerant towards other opinion. In some cases they have neo-Nazi type of ambitions and tactics. So I think that European Union members need to deal with this as well. And when we say that European values, which are basis for joining and maintaining unity of European Union and human rights, democracy, free market economy, solidarity, and so on, I think that surely they still hold true, but there are many challenges which are coming from within the European Union, but also from outside of the European Union, which we need to take into consideration if we want to make this great post-war, Second World War project alive. Because European Union is the most powerful union on earth and most protective of peace and freedom, because Europe never enjoyed such a long period of freedom as post-Second World War arrangements allowed, and this is namely because what founding fathers of European Union came with, that okay, whether you are a big or small country, you can have same say if you adopt principles of European Union and if you would like to contribute to it. In European Union, you know, at the European Commission, which is like government of EU and the European Parliament, in European Commission, the largest department what we have, which has enormous budget, which do you think the department is, Madam Director? You would say probably what? We spend largest amount of money on translation, language, because in EU, every country, whether you are small or big, every document must be translated to every national language. We Europeans, we will never be like United States where we, okay, let's speak English, yeah? Because English is the language. Your founding fathers, and I found it remarkable, created, okay, let's speak Indonesian. We in European Union will not say let's speak what? English when Britain is leading? Or what language are we going to speak? If you are Slovak, fine, every document is translated to Slovak. If you are, and we are even big with our 5 million, we are a big country. There are countries which have less than 2 million, and they are members and their language, whatever, how many people speak, everything is, so we are very sensitive to our cultural diversity and also language. So even if you are united, even if you are hired in UN, if EU, you have to speak English, if you are bureaucrat or politician there, but your mother tongue must be protected. So this makes it different from US or Indonesian experience, and I think that we wouldn't give up this sort of kind of situation. So, because European Union has this, and I'm finishing with this 12-star idea, which is on the flag, that it is almost difficult to imagine how come that such a diverse group of nations created the Union. It is almost equally mind-boggling like how Indonesia could have been created with over 6,000 populated islands out of 17,000 or how many of you have. So there are, if you are studying international relations, or if you study intercultural dialogue, there are always things what you will not find proper answer to, but they are matter of agreement, matter of consensus, matter of symbolism, and if you want to maintain peace, stability, coexistence, there are a few things what you need to stick in. So, in conclusion, even if we have many challenges which we see in EU from within or which are coming from outside, because EU is in competition with other global actors, I think European Union is still quite a remarkable project, and founding fathers of EU, which created in belief after Second World War, in period when also roughly your country was created. I think that they created great union, which all of us should try to contribute, those of us who are from within, but also I think we need to reach out and cooperate with countries like yours and many other actors around the world, because at the end we are in the same boat and we will either make it or create problems for all humankind. Thank you very much, and I'm open to any questions or comments which you may have.
Dear participants, please, we will open a question and answer. So for the first term, I will give like 5 questions to, okay. Yes, please give the question very, very short and clear, and introduce yourself. Please, yeah. Yes, we have microphone.
Thank you very much. My name is Ishana, and I'm from President University, but I used to study here at the University of Indonesia. Actually, my question has nothing to do with your lecture, Dr. Dennis. But I'm just really curious as to whether or not the Bratislava government has any plan to introduce the country more through culture, because I'm really big on cultural diplomacy. And I gotta be honest, but Bratislava to me, I don't know anything about Bratislava, but I've seen this movie called Euro Trip. It's a Hollywood movie, and then Bratislava is portrayed in a negative light in that movie. So, my question is whether or not the government of Bratislava plans to introduce Bratislava more through, culture in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the second one? Yeah, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon, Mr. Dillemas. My name is Alvin from European Studies University Indonesia. First of all, I would like to ask actually several questions, but one of it's already mentioned by you before. And my question is, how do you see or analyze about the current situation in Syria, the attack led by the U.S. government and its allies? As the member of EU and NATO, how do the Slovak Republic see about this aggression? Is this really helpful to decrease the suspected chemical weapons by Assad administration? And do you see that these attacks already break the international humanitarian law without any legal justification? Thank you, sir.
Okay, yes, please, yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm from Christian University of Indonesia. I have a question.
And your name, please?
Sorry. I'm Alan. And I just want to talk, actually. And I want to say something. Learn some words from Slovak. Dobre popoludnie. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. I see that Mr. Pavel so optimism about EU. I just wonder, as a former of foreign affairs minister and advisor too for the president, I read before, we have the same background. I mean, the EU and the Asian to face same dilemma like historical conflict, the diversity, and maybe something more. Sorry, what to say? The real advice from Mr. Pavel, how to build the identity, because in ASEAN, I'm Indonesian, I'm not ASEAN, and I learned from your speech before that there are some identity that Slovak and the other country of the EU, they seems, EU is our identity, and it's not happening ASEAN. So I hoping there are some advice to real and what we can do in national level or in regional level. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes. Miss Tia, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tian Lee. I'm from Christian University of Indonesia.
thanks for the chance to it's give
What's your name again?
gently. Okay. As you know, Slovakia is located in central of Europe, and as you know also, Slovakia is number one of investment destination country in East Europe, especially science, research, and high technology industry sectors. Be a focus of government of Slovakia. My question is, how does the Slovakia government to take advantage of the geopolitics of Slovakia they have in the European Union in achieving or to get its goal or national interest to becoming the largest investment destination in Europe, in European Union, not in East Europe, but in all Europe. Thank you.
Okay, yes, please. Okay, yeah. The back, yeah. Milano.
Thank you very much. My name is Milano, also a student of European Studies. My simple question is, as long as I know, Slovakian army also play important role as a NATO army, but last year, PESCO had already been built. So, explain your opinion. I mean, Slovakian opinion, the government of Slovakia, about that for me and the audience. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Yes.
To 5 and then we can do second.
Yeah. So we have now. We have 1, 2, 3.
We have 5.
5 already? Yeah. Okay.
If God bless you an army,
Oh
we
yeah.
have this.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, thanks. So these were really good and diverse questions. So let me try to I think that as far as Bratislava image and Hollywood, I think that whenever Hollywood comes to you, you don't know what happens, and usually they screw up your image. Unless Bruce Willis comes, usually it is not something which you are happy about. Or even Steven Seagal now, who likes to travel to Russia. I think that for any new country and any new capital city, it is of utmost importance to form public perception outside. And I think that since Slovakia is small and rather unknown country, it requires extra effort because Prague was better known, old place. And in case of Bratislava, which is very old town, oldest church which we have still functioning, it is Franciscan church for 700 years. It works as a church. So we often say that Slovakia is old nation, young state, because our history goes back over 1,000 years, and in our national symbol, sort of your Garuda, our national symbol is this double cross on 3 hills, which are hilly country, and double cross is Byzantine church, because 2 missionaries or envoys who came through Byzantine capital city, then Constantinople, today is Istanbul. They came and translated to local script liturgy, and it was 1,155 years ago. But since we became new capital city, our municipality and our cultural bureau is doing a lot to attract tourists. There are more and more of you coming. So every year there is increased number of tourists which are coming. So I think that it is very conscious strategy to put city on a map. And I think that we have one unique advantage, that we are just 1 hour by car from Vienna. and 2 hours to Budapest, capital of Hungary. But particularly Vienna, very often when Indonesians are coming, they are not coming to see Slovakia only, but they do like package, that they try to see the region. So one of our strategies is to attract people to visit not only Bratislava, but Vienna, Budapest. So there is a lot of cooperation with these, because before that, for 1,000 years, Slovakia was part of Hungarian kingdom. And then we were part of Austro-Hungarian Empire after Austrians and Hungarians created this joint state. So there is a lot of commonality and shared history. If you come to Bratislava, you will see that it looks a little bit like Austrian or Hungarian town or city with a lot of similarities in architecture and so on. So I think that you should come and explore, and I think that you will discover a place which is quite comfortable for living, because standards of living in last 25 years has improved quite remarkably. If you compare other capital cities around the region, Bratislava made the largest jump from where we were 25 years ago and where we are, because of geography and labor force. Bratislava became hub for many multinational companies. So we are having Dell and IBM, not only for Slovakia but for the region. Plus Bratislava has huge Volkswagen automobile industry. Slovakia nowadays, by the way, is the largest per capita car producer in the world. We are producing Porsche Cayenne and Volkswagen cars and Kia Hyundai and Peugeot Citroën cars, and now Jaguar Land Rover is building company. So we became like hub also for car producing with global significance. Now, as far as Syria attack is, so all this happened while I'm in Indonesia, so I cannot say that I'm fully knowledgeable. I studied interreligious dialogue when all of this happened, and to be honest, I don't like when Donald Trump is doing too much tweet diplomacy, and I need to look a little bit more into this, and I don't like some of the rhetoric of US president when it comes to resolving issues. Surely Syria is extremely complicated and devastating problem, not only for lives of people in this beautiful country. I visited Damascus and several other Syrian cities before war. And Damascus, as you know, is the oldest continuous capital in the world, which used to be extremely peaceful, pleasant place to be. And I'm just sort of very emotional and angry when it comes that in the 21st century we are unable sort of to collectively to resolve this situation where people are suffering, and it continues going on. Surely there is big risk of much bigger conflict because once you have too much power in rhetoric, whether on American or Russian side or other regional power side. So I think that it is very delicate situation besides suffering of local people. Now, as far as identity, third question is building this EU, I would say that within the European Union, there you will not find many people who will tell you that I have EU identity. There is an attempt on the side of EU to do something for that. But I think still it's vastly prevailing that people say their state or their nation state identity, and this EU, it is still struggle to bring it closer. And now we started in Slovakia a project called Europe National Convention on European Union, where they have hashtag We Are EU. So you are, and this is done by Ministry of Foreign Affairs together with some NGOs. I think that developing this European identity is not something obvious and easy. We are working on that, and it is task both for EU institutions but also for national institutions to work on that. And that is why for me it was because part of us are members of Eurozone, but 19 out of 28. So those who adopted Euro are a different take because we have common currency, but others don't. They have still on their banknotes some national euros. We don't. You know that on euro banknotes you will never find face of anybody. Europeans decided they want to have common currency. You can't put faces of leaders on the currency because you would run into trouble. Hero is enemy for other. My hero, your enemy. My enemy, your hero, and so on. So you will end up with this problematic thing, who is hero? So banknotes of EU, if you pay in any EU country, you will find Gothic or Baroque style. You can have buildings, but you will never find poet, general, politician. We wouldn't agree. You can have heroes only on coins. It's a little trick that member states of Eurozone can put some of the heroes. What was the fourth question? Yeah, largest investment destination I tackled a little bit. I think that Slovakia benefited of sort of rather educated population. We never had really, sort of during socialism, unemployment didn't exist because it was forced, but we had very good, or used to have a good education system that we don't have illiteracy. Many people could be reoriented from industry, various industries to this high-tech machinery and so on. That is why many foreign companies decided to come and locate because combination of geography and labor force. And this member of NATO, I think that it's good that you mentioned it. We are members of NATO also since 2004, which is military political alliance. And I think that within European Union nowadays there is a lot of talk about security issues because we see securitization of foreign policy since there are many new threats. So, but still NATO remains main strategic alliance within which Slovakia is integrated and operates. Okay, next slide.
Maybe not 5. We will have another. Oh, we will have another 2. So you do it? Okay. Okay then. Baju biru. Yeah, this one. And Bapak at the front.
Who the first?
Hello, I am Sandy. I'm from Fitness the U.S. student now, already, and plan to take master in Russia and outcome is this last year. And I have a question. This is a very simple, I think, for you. How about your position in Slovak government about the Skripal cases today? The spy, yes, yeah. As you know, yes, Skripal case. Sorry.
Can you speak a bit clearer? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. This simple question about what is your position from the Slovak government about the Skripal case? The Russian agent spy, the Russian concern Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's about the Russian agency with Russian spy?
Yeah, recently it's happening in UK.
Oh, okay. You know?
Yeah, okay, this
Yeah.
poisoning of...
The poisoning.
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Well, it's Slovak position because mostly from the European leaders of Merkel and others to get out from the Russia. So, but not Slovak. Slovak still has Russian diplomats. So I want to know what's your
Opinion.
positions
Okay.
about this case.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, I do understand. Okay.
And Bapak in the front.
Thank you very much. I'm Nubure, Electoral Islamic School of I would rather to share because you have questions. Instead of questions, but you present some of the dilemma of the European Union in light of the unrest in the Northern Africa, unrest and immigration's problem
Oh, anti-migrant.
so European Union and the threat of the problem in European Union's countries members. I would like to share that is also Indonesia is also under the threat also what happened in the Northern Africa, especially in Syria and Iran and so on. The problem is also as most populous Muslim countries, they have a sympathetic with what happened with the Northern Africa. So the growing of radicalism also. But you know that Indonesia have and we have one tool how to unify the big country from east to the west as a big tool from east to west it takes 6 hours. But we still unite as and KRI as country compared to Czechoslovakia, for example, country that we are here since 1945 and stay as NKRI satu because of what as the founding father states. Pancasila itu sajalah yang menyatukan kita. That is the speech of President Soekarno. Only Pancasila is the tool to unify among us with ultra diversity, ultra diverse. As you also expect yourself as the University of Parahyangan, and you expect that is a Catholic university, and you introduce yourself as Catholic while the children most of them are Muslim. So this is one of the Indonesia phenomenon. Would you like to introduce, for example, in May, if possible, if there is a chance to introduce how Indonesia manage this diversity into the problem, the potential problem in Europe that they are not facing, welcoming the immigrants from the Northern Africa, from Syria, Iraq, and so on. The quality of the Indonesian Muslim here is much different from that in the Northern Africa. Here is much more robust, and it will be good if sometime in the future we have inter-exchange of values introduced to the European Union country, made with religious leaders across religious followers. So probably this is one of the purpose.
Thank you very much. Now, your question about this scandal with former Russian spy whose name is Skripal and his daughter, because he already settled in Britain, but daughter is still having Russian citizenship, created a lot of attention and interest, and Slovak government position was that this is like chemical attack on territory of European Union, because Britain is member of European Union. British government brought some evidence that they have strong evidence that this is something related to that, but it went so fast that many people had to decide how they will cope with this issue, because European Union and Russia nowadays are having mutual sanction policy. So there was this expression of solidarity of members of EU and solidarity of NATO members evoked and discussed. Slovak government belongs among those countries which, none of the European Union countries said that we have nothing to do with that. The difference was only about one point of whether expelling or non-expelling some diplomats, Russian diplomats for country. Slovak government took position, we did three things. Our government did, because I'm not in government, but our government did three things. First, it joined in rejecting this type of thing. Second, they called to Ministry of Foreign Affairs Ambassador of Russia to express dissatisfaction and asking explanation. And third, we never did this in our 25 years of independent state, that we would recall or call home our ambassador from any country which is sign of protest against this. So these were three things how Slovak government reacted on this very unpleasant situation which happened with Mr. Skripal, former Russian agent. Surely Russia did the reciprocal things of those countries which expelled Russian diplomats, then they expelled. Surely it is not helping at all, because in Europe, and not only in Europe, we need as normal as possible relations among major players, and Russia surely major player is. But for the time being, tension between United States and Russia, also tension between European Union and Russia is reality, and the more we do to resolve some of these open issues, the better. Now, and as far as your comment / question, I think that I would almost conclude with this, because I see that Indonesia is almost like union, because your diverse parts which are holding together through these Panchasila principles, it's something worth look at, because you were able to balance both religious and secular issues and economic and governance somehow in a way that you can keep this enormous diversity, and not only geographic diversity but also ethnic, language, somehow in such a way that it is almost difficult for non-Indonesians to understand how this can work. Because as I said, in our case, even language and some of the things are so important that people wouldn't give it up. But you are able for quite a long time, since 45, already to manage and not allow domination of either some religion or domination of some. Somehow, for me, I still need to digest it and understand it, because it's my first visit. And as far as this religious thing is concerned, which I tried to look at, which struck me, that since I'm a Christian, I didn't understand, probably some of you may tell me, when you say that we have Christians and we have Catholics. No, because Catholics are Christians as well. And I not fully understand why you call Christians and Catholics, because we say we have Catholics and Protestants, but here you call them Christians and Catholics. So probably it is important for you, but I was unable to fully understand this. Then I liked how you are converting images, because since I'm taking pictures of different things which I want to show, that Jesus was Jew, but in Gwangju, Jesus is Javanese, so you shift, the face. And when I photograph statue, because when I went to many countries, including to Israel, where he was born in today's Israel and Palestine, sort of they would depict him differently. I saw in Europe how they are depicting, so I have image of Javanese looking Jesus, which I like. And then in that complex of Catholic Church, there is temple, Hindu temple like I saw in Prambanan, and on the top they put cross. And inside of the chapel is Jesus, so it has the Hindu style, but it's Catholic. At Borobudur, I found fascinating moment. There were children cleaning with brush stones, and I didn't understand what it's about. 30 kids, elementary school children sitting and brushing something. I went to ask their teacher, what are they doing? And they say they are protecting Borobudur Buddhist temple. And these are student or pupil volunteers that mechanically cleaning because they don't want to use some chemicals, and there is some fungus and dust probably destroying some elements. So I have image of Muslim kids cleaning Buddhist temple, which I found fascinating. Also, when I went to your cathedral here in Jakarta and then to Istiqlal Mosque, I went for Friday prayer last week. Sort of, you see cathedral and then you have mosque. I walked sort of from one to another, could take picture. You can just side by side, two different religions having their holy places of worship. And last, most fascinating and funny story, I met this professor, Magnus Suseno, who is probably the biggest Indonesian patriot, coming from Germany, settled here, and he was able to explain me so many things. But when he spoke, he didn't speak they in Indonesia, but we in Indonesia think, or we in Indonesia do. So I think that it was very interesting, and he was mentioning, since he's Jesuit monk and professor scholar, he said when Pope John Paul II visited your country, he went also to Jogja, and there was 100,000 people at the airport waiting for him, that he was supposed to have open air mass. That it was during raining season, and they wanted to be sure that people didn't get wet, and Pope will not get wet, that they used shamans to clear the weather. And it worked. So Pope came and shamans secured good weather, so they didn't get wet. So I'm collecting a lot of intercultural and interfaith stories, which when I landed in Jogja, I was asking where are those underwear, because one of the shamans thing I was told is that shamans use female underwear to get a little bit clouds out, but there was no underwear, but I didn't get wet, so I had a good time in Georgia. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Dillemas. I think now I give the time to the MC, because I think after this there will be much more fun program, like taking photographs together with the students and things. Thank you very much, Bapak Pavel Demes,
Thank you very
for
much.
coming to our university. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can find me on Facebook if you want to send me a message, please do.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Demis and Ibu Hemi. And so that marks the end of today's public lecture, but I do hope the audience here does not leave the room just yet, because we will have a photo session with Mr. Demis and perhaps other the other and probably might want to have some photographs. And thank you very much. I you have a wonderful evening. And please souvenirs from the University of Indonesia. Well, the director shall hand over souvenir.
Saya ada di sini ya.
Okay, the director of SNC Indonesia shall give the souvenir to Mr. Dennis. After this, Madam Ambassador shall give the souvenir to the European